Lisa Anne Cihaski, a 21-year-old woman, was a bright and attractive individual, enjoying a fulfilling relationship with a handsome boyfriend and holding a good job. Born on October 25, 1967, in Shawano County, Cihaski spent the majority of her life in Birnamwood, residing in a spacious two-story blue house on Pine Road with her parents, Vilas and Shirley Cihaski, and her sister Tammy Cihaski. In 1986, Cihaski graduated from Birnamwood Senior High School. Throughout her high school years and beyond, she had an on and off relationship with Bill Buss, a partner 3 years her senior. Buss, a graduate of the same school, originated from a lineage of dairy farmers. His grandparents, William and Mary Buss, established the Buss farm in the late 1800s, and Buss resided with his parents on the farm. Following her high school graduation, Cihaski dedicated 5 months to studying travel planning at Dakota County Technical College in Rosemont, Minnesota, achieving a stellar 4.0 GPA upon completion. Before venturing off to college, Buss and Cihaski ended their relationship. Cihaski returned to Birnamwood in January 1987, where she assumed the role of a front desk clerk at Howard Johnson's Motor Lodge in Rib Mountain. She later earned a promotion to sales and catering assistant manager. Additionally, she worked occasional weekends at Chet and Emil's, a popular bowling alley and restaurant in Birnamwood. Those close to Cihaski depicted her as a sweet, caring, and pleasant person, with dreams of marrying and starting a family someday. In June 1989, Buss and Cihaski rekindled their relationship, realizing how much they missed each other. During their separation, Buss entered into a romantic involvement with Lori Esker, then 20 for several months, initiated through a mutual friend. Esker, a junior at the University of Wisconsin River Falls, pursuing a major in agricultural journalism and communications, had attended high school with Cihaski, graduating a year later. In that summer, Esker earned the title of Marathon County Dairy Princess. Reports highlighted her as a kind and undoubtedly intelligent person, having graduated from high school as a National Honor Society member. However, the breakup with Buss left her devastated, leading to a significant transformation. According to her friends, she became fixated on him and harbored resentment toward Cihaski for allegedly causing a rift in their relationship. On June 23, 1989, Buss and Esker attended a dance together, joined by Cihaski and her close friend, Kelly Meverden. Esker later informed investigators that she discovered Buss had left the dance without her. Assuming he had gone home, she drove to the Buss farm to assist with the midnight milking. However, upon arrival, she found Cihaski and Meverden outside the barn. This led to a heated argument between Esker and Cihaski, which eventually simmered down. A week later, Esker unexpectedly returned to the Buss farm to talk to Buss, but Cihaski was present. Another argument ensued, during which Buss expressed his desire to end his relationship with Esker and declared his love for Cihaski. On September 16, 1989, Cihaski and Esker crossed paths again at a wedding dance. Esker and her friend arrived between 8:30 and 9 p.m., departing just as Buss and Cihaski arrived, although Esker claimed to have ignored the couple. Feeling unsettled about not interacting with Buss and Cihaski at the dance, Esker decided to visit the Buss farm at 1 a.m. However, according to Esker, Cihaski was not present, so she left. 2 days later, Esker attempted to contact Cihaski at her workplace, but found her absent. Subsequently, she made a call from a campus phone at one of her jobs, but was unable to reach Cihaski. The next day, Esker rented a car with the intention of sorting things out with Buss and Cihaski. On September 19, 1989, Esker's class concluded at 3:50 p.m. She rented a car from Wolf Auto Center in River Falls and picked it up the next morning. Esker then drove to the AutoStop gas and convenience store across the street to buy a bag of chips and a Mountain Dew for her 2.5-hour journey to Wausau. On September 20, 1989, Cihaski was scheduled to work from noon to 8:30 p.m. She wore a white, short-sleeved sweater with padded shoulders borrowed from her mother, paired with a navy blue skirt featuring a backslit. Completing the outfit were a thin blue belt, blue flats, gold stud earrings, and a ring. Cihaski commuted to work in her 1989 Oldsmobile Calais, acquired in August. Anticipating a busy night at the motel due to a banquet she had helped organize, she initially planned to meet Bus after work to watch him play darts. However, her car's oil light began flickering, prompting Cihaski to cancel her plans with Bus. Instead, she asked him to meet her at the Cihaski house after his match, where they would then proceed together to handle the midnight milking. Cihaski declined an invitation to join colleagues for a drink at the hotel bar and left the hotel at 8:45 p.m. Subsequent events are recounted solely based on Esker's statement to the police. Upon leaving the motel, Esker approached Cihaski and requested a conversation, which Cihaski accepted. Before entering her car, Cihaski removed her belt and placed it on the rear seat. Inside Cihaski's car, the two women engaged in an argument at some point. Esker falsely claimed to be pregnant with Bus's child and accused Cihaski of being unfaithful. Esker alleged that Cihaski initiated the altercation by grabbing her hair and throat. According to Esker, Cihaski's attention was diverted by a guest leaving the hotel, providing Esker an opportunity to push her into the seat with her forearm press against Cihaski's throat. Observing a belt in the back seat, Esker seized it and tightly wounded around Cihaski's throat until Cihaski lost consciousness. Subsequently, Esker emptied the contents of Cihaski's purse, discovered a mirror, and held it up to check if her adversary was still breathing. Unfortunately, Cihaski was found lifeless. Esker then removed a ring from Cihaski's finger, presuming it was a gift from Bus. Initially, Esker told investigators she found the ring on the floor, but altered her account when questioned about its placement. Following Cihaski's demise, Esker drove to River Falls and returned the rental car the next day. A staff member provided her transportation to the Moore 4 store, where Esker discarded Cihaski's ring into the trash. Subsequently, she attended classes that morning after disposing of Cihaski's belt in the dormitory incinerator. In the meantime, growing worry enveloped Cihaski's parents as she failed to return home throughout the night. In the early hours of September 21, 1989, Shirley Cihaski drove to the hotel and made the grim discovery of her daughter's lifeless body in her car. Frantically, she hurried inside and urgently informed the front desk clerk to contact the police. Upon the arrival of investigators from Marathon County and officials from the State Crime Lab in Madison at the scene, an exhaustive examination of Cihaski's car ensued. Numerous pieces of evidence were gathered, and a thorough documentation involving photographs and videos was conducted of all the contents inside the vehicle. The autopsy on Cihaski was conducted by Dr. Robert Huntington III, a pathologist in Madison. He concluded that Cihaski's cause of death was ligature strangulation, and specified that the process took at least 2 minutes. In addition, she sustained blunt force injuries to her head, intestines, and lungs. The head injury likely occurred when Cihaski's head was forcefully pressed between the car seats and the floor hump. In court, Huntington later stated that no evidence within the car could account for the injuries to the intestines and lungs. He explained, "If the assailant threw a knee or a hip into her while holding her down, that would explain it." Additionally, he suggested that the fingernail markings on Cihaski's neck were probably self-inflicted during her struggle for survival. Authorities questioned Bus about individuals who might pose a threat to Lisa, and he promptly identified Esker. Among the 18 suspects interviewed by deputies in the 9 days following Cihaski's murder, Esker became the focal point of the investigation due to inconsistencies in her statements during a 90-minute interview on September 24, 1989, in River Falls. On September 29, 1989, authorities conducted a second interview with Esker at the sheriff's department, requesting hair and fingerprint samples, to which Esker consented. At 7:45 p.m., she was informed of her rights, waived her right to legal counsel, and admitted to the killing. Police then requested her to reenact the crime, with a deputy portraying Cihaski. In accordance with Lori's instructions, Sergeant Randall Hunish initially seized her arm, shook it, and subsequently released it. He then placed his hand on her throat, and Lori countered by positioning her left forearm against Hunish's throat. Hunish described Lori as being not at all shy or hesitant how she did this. On the contrary, she was aggressive and applied a great deal of pressure to my throat with her forearm. As a matter of fact, she had me off my chair and up against the wall in the interview room, Honish documented in his report. Lori proceeded to grab his belt and, in a split second, had it wrapped around my neck and once again, applied a good amount of pressure to my neck, this time using the belt, he continued. Esker made an appearance at an arraignment session in Marathon County Circuit Court on Monday, October 2, 1989. She faced charges of first-degree intentional homicide and was detained without bail. The courtroom was filled with around 60 friends and family members of both Cihaski and Esker. During a bond hearing 3 days later, Marathon County Circuit Court Judge Michael Hoover granted Esker a $100,000 bond. However, he stipulated that she must reside with her parents and avoid contact with crucial witnesses, including Buss and Meverden. Esker became the first woman in Marathon County charged with murdering another woman, drawing national attention to Cihaski's death. The trial spanned 1 week in June 1990, overseen by Judge Hoover. District Attorney Greg Grau represented the prosecution, and Attorney Stephen Glynn defended Esker. Due to pretrial publicity, the jury was selected from Florence County. The prosecution argued that Esker, driven by jealousy, had an obsession with Buss and intentionally killed Cihaski. Glynn countered, asserting that Cihaski's death was an unfortunate accident and not a deliberate act. Grau maintained that Esker demonstrated intent when she grabbed the belt. During a pivotal moment in the trial, Grau imposed a 2-minute silence on the courtroom to illustrate the duration of Cihaski's demise. He emphasized that Esker had ample opportunity to cease and release the belt around Cihaski's neck, but chose not to. Numerous witnesses, including Buss and Tammy Cihaski, testified, while Esker opted not to testify on her own behalf. On June 15, 1990, the jury deliberated for 7.5 hours. Prior to deliberations, Judge Hoover informed the jury that they could consider charges beyond first-degree intentional homicide, such as second-degree intentional homicide, which accounts for provocation and self-defense, and carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Despite this, the jury found Esker guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, and later, Hoover sentenced her to life in prison, with the possibility of parole, in 2004. Glynn expressed his intention to appeal the conviction. During a post-conviction hearing in October 1991, Esker's attorneys argued for a retrial, contending that the jury instructions had caused confusion in the 1990 trial. However, Judge Hoover dismissed the motion. Hoover: I can't conclude, I can't believe that this jury was ultimately confused in applying the instructions. These are not people who live in a vacuum until they walk into the jury room. They know what the issues are. Esker did not attend the hearing, and her legal team pursued another appeal. However, in May 1992, the 3rd District Court of Appeals affirmed her conviction. The Leader Telegram reported that, in her appeal for a new trial, Lori Esker alleged 2 of her confessions were involuntary and inadmissible because the authorities used fundamentally unfair and psychologically coercive tactics and strategies, according to appellate court records. She again argued her due process rights were violated because the jury instructions were confusing and misleading. The court found that Esker's admissions were voluntary, and the jury instructions were not reasonably likely to confuse or mislead the jury. The court additionally determined that tactics were not fundamentally unfair or so coercive as to exceed Esker's will. To prevent Esker from benefiting financially from the homicide, Cihaski's family initiated a wrongful death lawsuit. Esker and her legal representatives had been offered deals for books, films, and television projects, as well as receiving payment requests for interviews from journalists. In an out-of-court settlement signed by Judge Michael Hoover in early August 1992, a wrongful death judgment was established. This arrangement granted Cihaski's family access to Esker's assets and mandated Esker to pay $350,000 to the Cihaski family. According to the Wausau Daily Herald, a 1970s Wisconsin law, dubbed the Son of Sam Law, prevents someone convicted of first-degree intentional homicide from profiting from the crime. On the contrary, Any potential income Esker could have acquired would be directed to a trust fund administered by the state. This legislation was named after the infamous serial killer David Berkowitz, also known as Son of Sam, who had gained financially from book and movie deals. In 1995, NBC produced a film titled Beauty's Revenge, featuring Courtney Thorne-Smith from Melrose Place and Tracy Gold from Growing Pains. The movie was loosely inspired by the events surrounding Cihaski's death. Wausau developer Gidorzi Kos razed the Howard Johnson Motor Lodge a couple of years ago to clear space for the construction of the Hilton Garden Inn Hotel. In July 2019, almost 3 decades after the murder of Cihaski, Esker was released from prison. Her current location is unknown, but it is speculated that she may have returned to the Esker farm in Hatley. Esker, who has never expressed remorse for Cihaski's killing, saw her parents maintain stoic expressions throughout the trial. Bus, on the other hand, found love anew and married Linda Gritzmacher in May 1993, resulting in the birth of 2 sons. However, the couple ended their marriage in recent years, and Bus continues to reside in the Eland area. Tammy Cihaski married David Fisher in 1994, and they now live in the Birnamwood area, alongside Shirley Cihaski. Vilas Cihaski passed away in 2016.